Alright folks, let's get started. Since this is my first video, I want to do a quick introduction. Really what I'm trying to do is share some methods that I like to use to sort of increase comfort and make things more efficient in our day-to-day tasks, which in turn should hopefully allow more time to focus on exceptional design, which is what our goal is. Some of these ideas may be obvious, but CAD and sort of Windows are hugely customizable and they have a lot of tools that are easy to overlook. So let's start off with a simple task, and we're going to start with file access. We'll be looking at really three ways of improving the experience of opening files. And what we're going to start with is within AutoCAD, the Open Files window has this panel. So typically, to access a job, we would click this open button, or I would recommend, if you can, always use a keyboard shortcut rather than a mouse button whenever possible. It tends to be more efficient. So Control O will open this, and then we've got this panel over here that we can customize. I think typically we would probably drop this down, go to our P drive, navigate to Jobs Current, and then type in our project number, go into Current, and access our files. But we can skip a few of those steps. And what we can do is customize this with shortcuts. So I don't have any important information for CAD in the Documents folder, so I'm going to right-click on it and remove. I don't ever use this History folder. It could be valuable for some, so leave it or don't, but I'm going to remove it on mine. And then what we're going to do now is add shortcuts. So the first one I like to add is go to Projects, Jobs Current, and once you're inside of a folder, you can right-click and go to Add Current Folder, and it's going to add a shortcut there. So anytime we're browsing around, we can just click this and get back to our Jobs Current. The other folder that I like to keep permanently is Projects Standards. And since we're within AutoCAD, we shouldn't need any of these other folders. So I would actually go into the AutoCAD Standards folder and right-click Add Current Folder. So these are typically going to live here always for me. But as I find myself working on specific jobs more and more at certain times, I'll add the Jobs folder. So let's say I'm working on McCulloch 2640. I'll open that folder and Add Current Folder. And then we'll also do the same with maybe Marshall, Add Current Folder, and one more for good measure, 2697 Yarder, Add Current Folder. And so now, if I close this window, I can click Save. We'll save the changes we made to the Places list. And so anytime I hit Control O to open, these often accessed locations are immediately available. So I don't have to click here, P, Jobs Current, and then type in a number. I can immediately go open McCulloch Current and find exactly what I need when I need it. So I think that's pretty helpful. One other method that I think is maybe fairly obvious that I just recently noticed, and it occurred to me that we could possibly use, is this Start tab. I think it just really has a running history of files that you've opened, but you can, in the top left, pin these files. So things like TSA standards may go there, or some reference projects that you refer to for details often. It may be helpful to pin some of those. I've not used this much. It doesn't look like you can add folders here, so I'm not sure how useful it'll be, but I'm going to look for ways to work this into my workflow. And if I think of any ideas, I'll try and relay those to you guys. So the last method is sort of what I call maybe a Launchpad folder. And what we're going to do, that's in Explorer. So we're going to open an Explorer window. And I'm going to put that in my Documents folder. And what I'm going to do here is create a new folder. I'm going to call that Projects. You can name it whatever you want. And within that folder, I'm going to add shortcuts to projects and folders that I access a lot. And so this will give me sort of a starting point whenever I'm trying to browse to something and quickly open files or switch between projects, or attach files to emails, that I can quickly browse to where I'm trying to go without every single time having to go to projects, jobs, current, find the folder. So what I like to do here is go into documents, projects, and I'm going to put this window on the right, and I'm going to open another Explorer window and put it on the left. So what I'm going to do is go to projects, jobs, current, and so my projects, I actually have on my work computer, all of my projects have shortcuts in this folder. So McCulloch will create a shortcut, and it kicks them to the bottom on my computer. So we'll scroll down, find that McCulloch. We want to cut and paste instead of copy and paste because we don't need shortcuts to everybody's projects on the server. So now we've got one of my projects. We can add Barnett, create shortcut, cut, paste, 678 Marshall, create a shortcut here. And then we'll do one more for good measure. Lackey is one of my projects, create shortcut. We'll grab that and paste it here. So you can add all of your projects, shortcuts to all of your projects in this folder, and then quickly and easily, anytime you open a new window, you can browse to that folder, which I'll show you another trick for here in a second. So another thing I like about this folder is that we can create other locations. So one thing I like to do is create a reference projects folder. And what I like to do is add shortcuts to projects that maybe aren't my projects or are maybe in the jobs archive, things that I'm not looking for day to day, but sometimes I will reference maybe a detail or how something was displayed or drawn. So, I think there's several projects like McDonald 2549, I think has a lot of good stonework and detailing in it. So maybe we'll create a shortcut for that and put that in this folder, cut and paste. Another good example I think is in Jobs Archive 2092. Create shortcut, go to the bottom, find that folder as well. And these are jobs that maybe I don't have the job number memorized, but typically they're going to be further developed and projects that I'm familiar with in terms of pulling details or referencing for future designs. So I like adding that there. And then we can also do the same as we did in our projects panel within CAD. We can add a shortcut for standards. And since this is not within AutoCAD, I think it makes sense to add a shortcut to the actual standards folder. And I'm going to rename that 0 standards. The reason I do that is so they live at the top of the window. So now anytime I open this projects folder, I can quickly access standards. And then here's an important step. One thing that's really helpful is taking this project folder, go into Documents, Projects, right-click, and pin to quick access. So now anytime we open a new Explorer window, we can quickly click projects and find what we need. And so I would encourage you to think about what might be useful to access often, add all your projects, add reference projects as you come across ones that tend to be useful for you, standards. I'm sure there's some ideas out there that I haven't thought of. But yeah, hopefully this is helpful and look out for future videos. Thanks.